Welcome, everybody, to our insurance series. I am here with Ryan Reckenberg. We are talking today about what you need to know when it's time to make a claim with your insurance. So, obviously, I'm sure there's lots of things going on when you're in the midst of having to make a claim. There's stress and confusion, and you have no idea where to start. So, tell us what we need to know.
Okay, my first one, first super important thing is yes, it is stressful, it is scary. I've been there, done that. The important thing is take a deep breath, kind of center yourself so that you're not feeling so stressed. There's different reactions to it. There's getting mad and yelling at the other people. There's being tearful at the side of the road. Try to avoid both of them. Just take that deep breath and calm yourself down. The other thing that's super important for any kind of claim, especially auto, is never claim liability. That can be anything from saying, "Oh, I didn't see you coming," to "Oh, it's my fault," or "Oh, do you want to settle this?" There, don't utter any of those words because no, and it's a serious issue, and the reason why is you may actually forfeit your right for A, a claim, or B, to have us defend you legally.
Oh,
So you want to make sure you're never admitting liability or that you're never admitting fault. That's key to the thing. You can't rely on a defense from a lawyer if you've already gone against it and admitted liability. So
and when
that's
you're in that state of mind where when you're in state of shock, right? Like, not that it's going to be easy for you to remember, but
no.
try
And
not to.
it's difficult because you want to, especially as Canadians, we always want to say, "Oh, I'm really sorry," and it's fine to comfort the other person. It's fine to comfort yourselves and say, "I'm really sorry that this happened," but you don't want to say anything that will incriminate or anything that can sway the opinion in any way over who's at fault. Now, staying on the at fault thing, the other thing is people always say, "Well, I was in an accident, but the police didn't give me a ticket, or the police said I wasn't at fault." The important thing to know for insurance is the police in no way determine the fault of the accident. It's actually done by like the province of Ontario through the insurance acts. There's a book that's about this thick. I have it sitting on my mantle at home. It's about 2 to 3 inches thick, and it's called the Fault Determination Guidelines. It is not an exciting read. Don't go out and try to find it. Honestly, it's brutal, but it will actually determine the fault based on different scenarios. And so it, even if you're not charged for anything, it could still be an at fault. So try to protect yourself. Just don't say anything if possible. So
Noted.
that's super important. Not many people talk about it. And then once you're in that accident, once you've kind of taken those couple of breaths, the next thing that you should do, take a picture of your vehicle, take a picture of the other person's vehicle. We always have our cell phones. Just snap quick pictures. If you have a pen, write down the date, the time, what the location is, what the kind of weather situation is, the driver that you are in the incident with, their names, their address, and their phone number. And if they'll give it to you, their driver's license number and their insurance information. Now, some people will be kind of iffy. It can be a challenge. So try to get as much information as possible because all the information that you have will be helpful both to your insurer and to yourself in the future. The other thing is write down any details if the person has any injuries or if you have any injuries. Just write them all out. Make kind of, even if they're not obvious, if the person's holding their neck or whatever, you want all the documentation possible just to protect yourself in the future. And if there's a potential injury, you're more likely going to want to submit a claim because of the legal protection. Don't delay on anything where you think there's going to be a situation. Most people will say, and I'm a huge person for this as well. If the incident, like if the damage to your car, say someone's backing out of your driveway, it's a friend or whatever, and they ding up the side of your car or something. If the damage isn't going to be worth your time, because remember, you're going to have to take the total amount of damage and take away your deductible from it, and see if it's actually worth the time to make the claim. It's kind of some advanced algebra for whether or not you can afford, or if you want to make that claim. And it can be difficult. So when there is an accident, kind of err on the side of caution, make the claim, go to the reporting center. The other one is when you go to the collision centers, they're going to give you a claim. Same thing in an auto or in a home claim. If someone comes to investigate or whatever, they're going to give you a claim number.
Okay.
Keep that, and always make sure that you have all the information even after a claim is settled. Keep the information in a file, because there can be claims 5-10 years down the road that actually reemerge as like an injury claim depending on what happens. And
Okay.
in the situation where it's a minor injury, should hold on to it for 2 years, because that would be like the threshold.
Okay.
And if it's a serious injury, or if someone has it's from the time that the injury has been noted. So keep
Okay.
it around, just protect yourself that way. And always get documentation. Always have everything written. That's insurance 101. Always have it in paper.
Okay.
So there you go. In terms of the documentation, the other important thing to know insurance wise, if you have your car damaged, if you have an accident, say you've gone to the collision reporting center and you want to report this claim, don't go get it fixed at the local auto body shop or someone that you trust or anything and expect to be reimbursed. What you're going to have to do is make the claim first, and then they'll tell you kind of what the limitation is, what their estimate is, and then you can go have an estimate done, go through the claims adjuster. The claims adjuster will essentially be your friend.
Right.
If the company adjuster and you don't agree, you can either get your own private adjuster to come and give an estimate on it, or you can go through arbitration through like the provincial level and fight it out and have kind of an arbitration where you negotiate a mutually beneficial agreement between the two of you.
Right.
There you go. Now I'll open it up for questions from you.
Okay. So I'm in an accident. The first thing I do is I call 911 or help or whatever.
Yep.
And then should I be calling the insurance company on the roadside at that point as well? Or should I be waiting until that chaos is over with to make that call to the insurance company?
I would suggest waiting until you have gone to the claim, like the collision center, filed all of the documentation, so you'll have it all. At the scene, the primary thing for you is just to gather as much as you can. So take
The
the
who, the what, the where,
photos.
when, why,
Yeah,
how.
take the photos. Talk to the people around. See if you can get maybe a witness who's like unaffiliated with anyone in the parties. That's ideal. So it's go into more the police mode. If a policeman shows up at the scene, you should try to take down badge number and name. If you're conscious enough about doing it, it should be something that you'd look at as well.
Okay. So at this point, I've made notes of who, what, where, when, why, how, without the who, because maybe the person that I'm in this situation with does not feel comfortable giving me their information. How do I go about that?
With the picture of the car, just take their registration, like their license plate number. They can track it down. The next place that you'd go after that will be the collision reporting center. You report it, and then they'll get to the other person. They'll have all the information needed.
So as long as you have the photo of their vehicle and their license plate at best, like
Yes.
at minimum, that's best.
That's the best. Absolutely.
Okay.
Like if they give you the information, great. If not, they'll have to track it down the other way. Even if there's a situation where the person is like an uninsured motorist, they don't have insurance, they'll be able to track them. It's not a problem. there's going to be a driver affiliated with that license number.
Right. Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. I mean, other than, the time frame for how these things get resolved with the insurance companies, I'm sure people have issues with, because it's a process, right? It's not like you're going to be able to, if your car is wrote off, it's not like you're going to be tomorrow, you're going to have a brand new car, right? Generally speaking, is the process usually, depending on your coverage, you would normally get like a rental
Yeah.
car if that's the coverage that you maybe have. And then you have that car until things are sorted, or how does that normally work?
So it's a lot faster than people really give it credit for, and a lot of people say like, oh, the claim's safe forever. It's fair enough, but like you said, it's a process. So first is the accident at the side of the road. The second thing, go to the collision reporting center, report the accident. Even if you're not going to file the claim, just report the claim. It'll protect you in the future if there's any lawsuits or anything. You want to report what has happened.
Okay.
The third thing to do would be to call the insurance, go through it. They'll ask you to do something called either loss assessment or like a loss form. Notice of loss is like the legal name. And it's basically a written declaration just saying what had happened. Then they'll pass that off to the loss adjuster, who looks at your pictures as well as may want to come inspect it, may want to talk to you, will definitely talk to you. And then they'll make their assessment on what kind of the damage is and if the damage falls under coverage that is allowable. So they're the ones looking at the actual policy, reading the policy, saying, okay, this is what the actual deal is. And they'll give you kind of the final number less the deductible, which is what you're going to be able to use to repair the car or to get a new car. In the meantime, you'll have to have talked to the loss adjuster, because they'll approve the immediate use and probably even where you're going to get the rental. So you just go pick up your rental car, drive it around, and then once you return it, you'll usually return it once you know exactly how much money you have. So for the rental, if you have like the rental coverage on your vehicle, like loss replacement for like a rental, try to delay using it as long as possible, because it can burn through relatively quickly depending
Okay.
on the process. So I would hold off till kind of everything has been settled in the dust. You've talked to the loss adjuster and everything's going on well. And then if you're really worried about it and you feel the process is going too slow, and a lot of people do, what I usually would recommend doing is go to a couple of auto shops or go to the local auto shop if your vehicle is like semi-drivable. Get a couple of estimates on what it will cost. That gives you kind of a ballpark to work off of, as well
Right.
as the photos, so that you know exactly what you're kind of in for in terms of the damage and what the cost is going to be.
Right.
Um, yeah.
And what, so say my deductible, I don't know what the standard deductible is. Is it 1,000 or
It's
500?
usually $500.
$500. When is that deductible due? And then I'm going to ask a question that goes back that I should
Okay.
have asked first.
So the $500 deductible, in most cases, what they'll just do is they'll proactively subtract it from the total amount. So they'll say, okay, you're owed $3,500 less the 500, so they'll pay
Oh,
out.
okay. So
So
it's not something you're like scrambling to like make sure that they have.
if it's in 90% of cases, 95% of cases, they'll just deduct it off the actual award.
Okay.
If it's super minor, it may be paid out of pocket before they're actually willing to forward it, especially if it's a big loss.
Okay. Question that I maybe should have asked first. So when I'm contacting the insurance company, am I looking at my insurance slip and calling the number on that slip, or am I calling you?
It can be either. I mean, both numbers are on there. The claim number is the number to call. It's
Okay.
the important one. I can put you through to claims, but in terms of claims and stuff, usually your agent is not affiliated. So
Right.
It's a subsection of, like, I have people I work with, I know really closely, that work in the department, and I can probably like lead them and push them if things have slowed down or there's a stall.
Right.
That's when I would get involved and say, like, okay, let's move this along. This is the situation, and kind of get everyone on the same page, just to kind of
Right.
avoid the need of that other loss adjuster.
Right. Okay. I can't think of any other questions. I think that gives a pretty solid foundation for anybody that is in that situation and is kind of having to mentally prepare for what is to come now that, this situation has happened, and how I move forward. So I
And
think that
all they need to remember, Michelle, honestly, is don't admit any kind of fault. Keep your documents in a folder. Save all your receipts. That's the other one. Save those receipts, because you can claim a lot of the receipts, but you'll need to have the paper proof, which comes back to always have the documentation. So I mean,
right.
if you remember those three little tips, you're good to go for claims.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, hopefully this helps anybody who, I mean, heaven forbid something is going to happen, but when it does, and if it does, and unfortunately it may, at least you'll have this information that will help you prepare for what's to come.
Drive safely, and I hope everybody is happy and healthy and safe.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. We'll talk to you on the next one.
You're welcome. Have a great one.